Hey everybody, I know it's been a while. I've just been super busy with work and school, and I'm very sorry I haven't made a video in a while. But, here I am. I'm just gonna try to be a little more consistent in the future, but, you know, been very busy, and I hope you can forgive me, and I hope you keep watching my videos. As you can see, I'm in a new location. This is my dorm room. This is where I stay during the school times, as they call them. But I still got a Blu-ray shelf for a backdrop, and you know what? I see movies still, and I'm gonna talk about them. And today, I'm talking about Blade Runner 2049. And of course, Blade Runner 2049 is the sequel to the much beloved 80s classic Blade Runner directed by Ridley Scott. Now, I'm gonna be honest with you, I've seen a lot of hype surrounding this movie for the past couple of weeks. Everyone's calling it like the next sci-fi masterpiece, and I don't think I agree with that. I think this is a really good movie, but I think there's a couple of things that keep it from overall greatness. But let's talk about the great things that are in this movie. This movie is incredible when it comes to visual design. Denis Villeneuve and Roger Deakins both are really great at creating visually stunning movies, and this is no different. And they both had a really hard job going in, because Blade Runner is one of the most unique, one of the most influential film worlds ever. And I think they did a really good job of taking the technology and the look of Los Angeles in 2019 in the Blade Runner universe and updating it 30 years later. Like, you know how in the new Alien movies they kind of like forgot what the technology in the original Alien movies were, and they were just like, nah, we're gonna put in a bunch of holograms, we're gonna make this shit look all Apple and shit, it's gonna be great. But it loses some of that charm, and I think Blade Runner doesn't make that mistake. It keeps the original style. It really does feel like they just took the technology and the look and the society that we saw in the original Blade Runner and took it 30 years into the future. And not only does like all of that look amazing, it's shot really well. Once again, Roger Deakins, he's one of the best cinematographers in the world of film. So he's gonna make this movie look great, and it does. Like you saw in the trailer, like you can take any frame from this movie, hang it up on a wall, and people will say that's one of the greatest photos I've ever seen. And it switches between a lot of different settings. Like you see in the trailer, they go to like a desert. A lot of rain in this movie. Tell you what, if you like rain in movies, you're gonna love this movie because there's so much rain in this movie. And of course they capture the city really well. But yeah, overall, gorgeous looking movie, visually stunning. See it on the biggest screen you can. And as far as the underlying story of the movie, I thought it was really, really cool, the idea they came up with. They took some of the philosophical questions from Blade Runner that Ridley Scott asked us and created a new story out of it that feels organic, that feels natural to this universe, instead of just like, hey, let's make a sequel to Blade Runner. It's gonna be this movie and it's set in the Blade Runner world, but it doesn't really gel with the ideas of the original Blade Runner. This feels like it fits. And I won't say anything about what it is, because I think everyone should experience this movie completely cold. Just go in and see it. Don't try to know anything about it. Just see this movie for what it is. Its new characters feel the same way. I feel like Ryan Gosling's character was really well thought out. He has a lot of really interesting things to do in the movie. And he's Ryan Gosling, so he nails every single one of them because he's one of our generation's best actors. And the way he interacts with everyone is also really, really great. And of course, you can't talk about Blade Runner without talking about Harrison Ford. So let's talk about Harrison Ford. Harrison Ford is great in this movie. He's my favorite part of this movie by far. The way they decided to handle Rick Decker, I thought was nothing short of genius. The way they evolved his character and the way he works within the story is really great, really packs a lot of the emotion that this movie has into it, and I think he pulls it off really well. And they took his character and went in a lot of really good, really interesting directions, and I thought they did a great job with him. And as far as supporting cast, I thought Ana de Armas was really, really great in this movie. She plays Ryan Gosling's love interest, and I think the idea behind her is also really cool, really interesting, and they play with it in a lot of really cool, fun ways. I will say that some of the things they do with her feel like another movie that we've seen. I won't say what movie once again because I don't really want to spoil anything about this movie. They borrowed it, but I won't say that they didn't do something fresh with it, because they did. There are like one or two things I wish they did a little bit differently with her character, but overall I was really, really attached to her and Gosling's relationship, and I thought that really worked. As far as problems I had with character go, though, I wish the villains were a little bit stronger. Both of the actors that play the villains are fine. I just wish that they had done a little bit more work with them. Maybe giving them like another scene or two, just something to get me a little more scared of them, make me question their motives a little bit more, make me kind of think a little better about them, make me see the questions a little more clearer that they posed. But yeah, that I wish they were done a little bit better, but they service the movie fine. It's not really about them, it's more about the questions that the movie raises. So, you know, they're okay. I wish they could have been better. And I think that kind of brings me to my overall, not really problem, but why I don't think the movie is a great movie like some people are saying it is. Now, this movie is 2 hours and 45 minutes long. Now, I won't say that I was bored during that time, but there were times where I was like, you could have probably trimmed this down a little bit. While this movie has a lot of interesting questions to ask and it has a lot of interesting things to say, I feel like there's not a whole lot out of the realm of understanding as the original Blade Runner. It asks some of the same questions. It contemplates questions in the same kind of area. I just don't think that some of the times it asks you to kind of reflect and to just kind of sit with the things it's asking you. I don't think we need that much time. Now, if you've seen a Denis Villeneuve movie, you know he's a guy that kind of likes to keep his movies quiet. He likes to kind of linger on certain shots. He likes to linger in certain scenes. While I think that works in certain places, I wish this movie was paced a little bit faster. Like, if you're gonna put an audience through 2 hours and 45 minutes, especially for a big blockbuster like this, I feel like you gotta move with a little bit more purpose. And now, while there is underlying purpose to pretty much everything in this movie, I just don't think that 2 hours and 45 minutes is really necessary. And yeah, overall, I would say this movie has a pretty giant pacing problem. Once again, I'd never say I was bored in this movie. I was pretty intrigued for pretty much most of it. But I do wish that this movie moved with a little bit more purpose. I wish it warranted that 2 hour and 45 minute runtime. Because listen, if you make a great 3 hour movie and it feels like an hour, I'm on board. I'll love your movie no matter what. I just feel like this movie overstayed its welcome a little bit. Especially towards the end when it made a couple of decisions I wasn't really on board with. Yeah, I wish this movie had a little bit better pacing, but once again, I was never really bored during it. Overall though, I'd say this movie does a really good job. This movie had a lot going against it. People for decades had said, there's no way you could make a Blade Runner sequel that would satisfy the fans. That it wasn't possible, that you couldn't update the story in a way that would feel new and original, or that, once again, would satisfy the fans. Now, I'll go ahead and be upfront. I'm not a huge fan of the original Blade Runner. I understand its place in film history. I respect what it did. I respect how influential and how groundbreaking it is for the history of cinema. But I'm not a huge fan of it. I will say, though, that if there was going to be a great sequel to Blade Runner, this is going to be it. And I gotta give Denis Villeneuve a lot of credit for being able to take the parts of the original Blade Runner and build upon Blade Runner in such an organic, satisfying way. Even for someone who likes Blade Runner but isn't a huge fan of it, I did really enjoy this movie. It's got a lot of really cool ideas behind it. It pretty much follows through on all of them. And once again, it really does capture the feel and the look of Blade Runner while making it look fucking spectacular. I cannot tell you how good this movie looks. Like, I can't describe how good this movie looks. But like I said, I had a few problems with it. The pacing could have been a little bit better. I wish it was a little bit more engaging than it was all the way through. But overall, I would say that Blade Runner 2049 is a good movie. If you're a fan of the original, I don't see why you wouldn't enjoy this. Like I said before, it really captures what made Blade Runner special, and it does a really great job of updating the story. So yeah, once again guys, really sorry I hadn't made a video in a while. I'm going to try to be a little bit more consistent with it. I'm going to try to at least do a video a week, even if it's not like a long form video or anything like that. I'm going to try to get something out. So please share the video and subscribe to the channel, and thank you for watching the Murphy Matinee.